Hello everyone! Welcome to Untold History, the channel where we explore the most forgotten and fascinating chapters of history. Today we travel to Argentina to remember a key moment in the class struggle and in the formation of the labor movement in the country, the tragic week of 1919. The beginning of the 20th century, Argentina was in the midst of the industrialization process. The economy was booming thanks to the export of agricultural products, especially meat and cereals, which were demanded by the European powers. This economic growth attracted hundreds of thousands of immigrants, mostly Europeans, who came to the country in hopes of finding better life opportunities. Buenos Aires, the capital, became a hotbed of cultural and social diversity, with entire neighborhoods populated by Italians, Spaniards, Jews, and other groups, all seeking a place in this promised land. However, rapid growth also brought with it deep social tensions. The working class, largely composed of these immigrants, faced extremely harsh working conditions. Working days of more than 12 hours, miserable wages, lack of basic labor rights, and the total absence of social security were the norm. This situation led to the emergence of an increasingly organized labor movement, with unions that began to demand better labor and decent living conditions. In this context of social effervescence with a society in full transformation, a conflict broke out that shook the foundations of Argentina. It all began in January 1919 in the Vecina metallurgical workshops located in the neighborhood of San Cristobal in Buenos Aires. These workshops were owned by the Vecina family, one of the richest and most influential in the country. The workers, fed up with the inhumane conditions to which they were subjected, decided to organize and demand labor improvements, such as a reduction in the working day and a wage increase. The strike, which was initially a protest for fair working conditions, quickly became a catalyst for a wider social explosion. Conflict escalated when police attempted to suppress the strikers, using disproportionate violence that only served to stoke popular outrage. The riots that followed were not just a confrontation between workers and law enforcement. Anarchist and socialist groups soon joined the cause, who saw in the struggle of the workers of Vecina an opportunity to challenge the capitalist system and the social injustices of the time. Buenos Aires became a battlefield, with barricades in the streets, violent clashes, and a city paralyzed by protest. For a week, Buenos Aires was the scene of bloody clashes that left hundreds dead and thousands wounded. The days between January 7th and 14th, 1919 are remembered as one of the most violent episodes in Argentine social history. Police forces, overwhelmed by the scale of the unrest, resorted to extreme measures, firing at point-blank range at protesters and using repressive tactics that included torture and arbitrary detention of union leaders. As the violence escalated, the government of President Hipólito Yrigoyen found it necessary to take drastic decisions. Yrigoyen, leader of the Radical Civic Union and the first democratically elected Argentine president, had come to power in 1916 with the support of the popular classes. However, pressure from the economic elites and conservative sectors led him to summon paramilitary groups, such as the Argentine Patriotic League, an ultranationalist organization that had the support of the Buenos Aires upper class. Patriotic League, composed of elite youth, ex-military and members of the bourgeoisie, dedicated itself to perpetrating acts of extreme repression against workers, immigrants, and ethnic minorities, especially the Jewish community, which was the object of violent pogroms during those days. These paramilitary groups acted with total impunity, carrying out raids in working-class neighborhoods, setting fire to houses and union premises, and murdering those they considered enemies of social order. The violence escalated further when the army, under orders from the government, was deployed to quell the uprising. The soldiers, armed with machine guns and backed by artillery, did not hesitate to use brute force to restore control. Crackdown reached its climax on January 9, known as Bloody Thursday, when the combined forces of police, the Patriotic League, and the army opened fire on a crowd of workers and their families taking part in a funeral procession in honor of the fallen strikers. Toll was devastating, with dozens dead and injured, and the consequent intensification of violence in the following days. Tragic Week was a turning point in Argentine history. On the one hand, it demonstrated the growing organization and radicalization of the working class, which was no longer willing to passively accept exploitation. The struggle for labor rights had become a battle for dignity, and the labor movement emerged from these events with a new awareness of its collective power. On the other hand, the tragic week also showed the willingness of the elites to use any means necessary, including extreme violence, to maintain the established order and protect their privileges. Consequences of the tragic week resonated for decades in Argentine politics and society. This event left deep scars on Argentine politics and laid the groundwork for future conflicts between the labor movement and conservative sectors. The brutal repression generated a lasting distrust between workers and the state, and fueled the radicalization of sectors of the labor movement that, in later years, would adopt more extreme positions in their struggle for labor and social rights. In addition, the tragic week highlighted racial and ethnic tensions in Argentina, a country that, despite its narrative of integration and miscegenation, was deeply divided. The violence directed against the Jewish community during these days revealed a latent anti-Semitism that had been imported by sectors of the elite, and that would continue to be a shadow in Argentine history. Today, the tragic week remains a reminder of the challenges facing a society in transformation, and of the historic struggles for social justice in Argentina. This episode also underlines the importance of historical memory in understanding the current challenges in the struggle for labor rights and social equality. Commemoration of these events is essential to recognize the injustices of the past and to strengthen the commitment to a more equitable and just future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the darkest and most revealing chapters in Argentine history, the tragic week of 1919. We hope that this episode has given you a new perspective on the complex relationship between the labor movement, power, and social justice in Argentina. Untold Story is the place where we unearth the lesser-known but pivotal moments that have shaped the world we live in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Here at Untold History, we strive to bring you stories that often fall outside of textbooks but are essential to understanding the historical and cultural contexts that have shaped our present. Thank you for your continued support and for being part of this community of history enthusiasts. See you in the next episode of Untold Story.